How's it going, guys and gals? This is Advanced Warrior here, and welcome to the second Advanced Wars by Web Sami replay commentary that I did tease. This is the second out of 3 Sami replay commentaries that I have for you guys. And yeah, remember how I mentioned how I was doing tier 3 matches with Sami? This time, both COs are in tier 4. Now, I don't want to try to get too much into tiers because there are some COs that there are some COs that can beat higher tier COs if played correctly by the right people. All right. Speaking of COs, let's just go ahead and get straight to it. We have Sami. Sami is the infantry capture specialist. Her foot soldiers gain plus 30% attack and have a 50% capture point bonus, rounded down however. Other direct units lose 10% attack and transports gain plus 1 movement. So obviously infantry and mechs, pretty crazy firepower. If they get the first strike, they will most likely get the better value against other infantry or other mechs. Mechs can get insane value if they get the opportunity to attack a tank or a recon, since mechs are a lot cheaper than those other 2 units. The capture point bonus is what I think is her biggest selling factor when it comes to her foot soldiers. Being able to capture a property, take a hit, but still have enough to completely capture it is very, very strong. Other COs, you can deal 1 damage to them and it can stop the capture for another day. Not Sami, however. I believe you would have to drop Sami down to 3 HP in order to stop that cap. So if you're capturing aggressively as Sami and you're going for the more contested properties and your opponent is not really expecting it, they can they will try to attempt to interrupt the cap, but most likely they would have 1 unit in the area. So say a recon can see Sami capturing a contested property and they move up, they try to capture it. It just went to waste because most likely a recon is not going to do 7 damage to Sami on a city, and that infantry would be able to capture that property, and that recon is just revealed. And if you have a proper backup, then you would be able to first strike that recon with a tank of your own. However, it's one of those things that I think makes Sami really interesting in Fog. Sami and Fog, if you can get away with it, capturing properties. Capturing contested properties while your opponent doesn't know can lead to a good income lead, which Sami really likes, because her tanks and other direct units do lose some firepower, but if you're able to tech up with that income lead that you have, then that's subtracted firepower wouldn't really mean much. Her defense isn't down, so you would still have a sturdy tank that just slightly hits less, but obviously a medium tank versus a tank, we all know medium tank is going to win. And speaking of going for more contested properties, the transport bonus really helps out her infantry, even just by 1 tile, or even 2 tiles if you have an APC moving 2 turns to go for more contested properties. So yeah, Sami, you would say kind of niche, but when it works, it works. Her power, double time, gives all of her infantry and mechs plus 50% attack power and plus 1 movement. So when you use double time, you can get really, really good engagements with the infantry against other infantry or mechs, and the mechs can get really, really good engagements against recons, tanks, APCs, transport copters, and such. Not infantry though, because if you have a damaged mech versus an infantry, that's not a lot of value because infantry costs 3 times less than a mech. The +1 movement also helps out with those mechs reaching out to those vehicles, as well as those infantry reaching out to those cities that are just one tile off. So if you're able to get a bunch of infantry to capture a multitude of properties, your opponent is going to be forced to do more to interrupt caps, and sometimes they might not have enough units to do that. Because, like I said, most units by themselves cannot deal 7 damage to Sami on a city. So they would most likely have to forfeit half of them in order to might have to forfeit half of their half of the properties they see are being captured in order to save the other half. It's a tricky situation if you're up against a Sami and they're capturing a lot of properties. I have lost a couple games. I have lost a few games to Sami after they used their double time because they were able to get an income lead after that. Victory March is Sami's most famous ability. Excuse me. Victory March gives her foot soldiers +2 movement, as well as a 70% attack boost. So yes, +70 attack is also pretty crazy for the infantry and for the mechs to do the damage on the prior units I have mentioned. Infantry mechs, mech tank, mech recon. Insane value with +70 attack. And the +2 movement allows them to reach it too, but just like double time, the +2 movement can also reach the properties, and if you read the entire description, Victory March can also capture any property, even if it's just at 1 HP. It can capture any property instantly. So most of the time you would see a good Sami player use Victory March to gain an income lead, or to capture the HQ and win the game from there. So yeah, it's a scary move. You want to be prepared for it. The reason I think Sami falls to tier 4 in Fog is because of Victory March and double time, where if you're trying to capture properties and force your opponent to respond, most likely your opponent would already know to respond beforehand by leaving units on properties hidden. So you would be forced to scout out, Sami would be forced to scout out these properties, as well as trying to kill those units in order to capture that property. And it might just be too much investment for Sami to even get a significant property lead. So yeah, your opponent, you got to be wary for your opponent to prepare for your Victory March if you have it up, which is why I believe it's a little tricky for Sami in Fog. Alright, now moving on to my opponent, Adder. Adder has no day-to-day abilities. He is completely normal. All of his units are 100-100. They have no buffs, no weaknesses, no catches. Regular infantry, regular units like Andy. His real where he shines is in his powers, actually. Sideslip is gives all units just +1 move, but it's also only 2 stars, meaning that if you're fighting and there's a lot of fighting happening, you will get Sideslip a lot. Sideslip is a very tricky move. Because it allows you to get the chance to get first strikes unexpectedly. Even in Fog, you might want to be careful playing against an Adder. I've had some games where I could get a first strike, but a forest is kind of like stopping me. An Adder power can actually help travel through forests better, and yeah, it just helps you reach. I've had games where I was just 1 tile short from getting a lot of first strikes, and I would get the first strikes, and I would like slowly win the game from there. Yeah, it's just really slippery, I would say. No pun intended. You know, you could just slip through and get those nice first strikes. That's how I view Adder. I view Adder as like a kind of a distance demon. You get those first strikes, you're already looking pretty good. Sidewinder, you would rarely see Sidewinder being used because most of the time you would get really immediate value from Sideslip. But Sidewinder is really nice, +2 movement. But it is 5 stars. A little, I'm trying to think of the math right now. A bit more expensive than 2 Sideslips. But when you get that Sidewinder, somehow you can really expect some really nice results. So yeah, Adder, very simple CO, but also very sneaky. It changes a little bit how some people play. All right, so the map here is called the Static. As you can see, it's a 3-base, airports in the corners, and you have this artillery here with 2 pipe seams. It can only attack this 1 pipe seam. It takes like 2 turns to break it. I think 3 turns. I'm sorry, 3 turns to break it. I believe the only CO who can do it in 2 turns, COs, are Conbai and Grim. Conbai is tier 0, and you most likely won't have a tier 0 game. Tier 4, however, Grim is available because he's not that good. I'm sorry, but Grim, he can break this in 2 hits. Well, everyone else takes it in 3. You have this opening already here with a base. Got the some lakes over here to kind of split the center from the sides, and you also have mountains that are preventing vehicles from here. I think the Static is a very strong Sami map, honestly, because infantry can cross through mountains, and this is something that I've heard. If you are on a map where infantry encounter first, then Sami is better. If you're on a map where tanks will encounter each other first, then Sami isn't that good. I believe it was like Voice of Akashka, Hellraiser, but yeah, this is one of the maps where I can see it. Sami infantry can just walk through the mountains and try to go for these 4 properties here, and contest very well with her plus 30% firepower. Comm towers on each side. Got a little port here. Could maybe have a lander. Put lander here. Have a base. Build something on the base like a tank, and have them go straight towards the center instead of looping around. But I don't find that very valuable. You can free this artillery if you break this pipe seam and you get like a free artillery. You might see that, but let's just get to it. So, simple infantry build. My opponent going straight for the base. That is what you want to do. You want to increase your you want to increase your unit count by getting your base as soon as you can. My opponent will get it first, however, because he got that free infantry. I just started moving up to mine, and yeah, nothing better to build. So yeah, I just keep going with the infantry. And here you'll see a slight difference. My opponent here is going for this airport. So it's at least covering his back properties. You want to make sure you have all the properties that are in your backs. But however, you don't want to do that too much and play too passively where you won't be able to be near the contested properties. And he built a mech, interestingly enough. I guess a mech could work, but if it's going to be moved towards the center, climbing through these mountains, you're not going to get a lot of value. You'll most likely see vehicles on the corners here. Alright, day number 3 for Sami. Finally capture my my base. And I move this infantry on the mountain. This infantry looks like it just moved through the pipe seam, but I'm pretty sure we've been shooting these pipe seams with our artilleries. And it's turn 3, as I said. At this point, the pipe seam should be broken. And here I move my infantry on the mountain, so I can capture this property. Notice I'm not going for the airport yet, because I move my infantry here, and I get a nice little capture chain going for these two. This one will be blank for the time being, but I will eventually have a unit to do the back caps, as I call it, infantry. As you can see, the pipe seam is broken. So, turn 3 for my opponent. Captures his base, starting to capture his airport, and he's also going for a property in the center, climbing through the mountains. Infantry also climbing on the mountain as well. The problem with the mech here, you see, it's not going to be able to reach his property. If he had this infantry on this city, on this mountain, he would be able to get that city. So yeah, infantry builds are done, and he breaks the pipe seam as well. So as you can kind of see, like, I already have a unit capturing here, so does he. But I already have a unit going for these two properties here when my opponent doesn't. This is what kind of happens when you're going for your back properties first, and instead of what's closer towards the center kind of being this diagonal middle here. You want to learn how to balance out where you want to send your units to capture. And like I said, I go for this one instead of this one because of little capture chain. Have this infantry going for that airport, and this infantry can go for the city. And I fill up all my bases with infantry. Should be able to buy a tank next turn. So moving his infantry out. Captures all of it. Infantry, recon. And because he built this recon, he doesn't have enough funds to build this base, to build anything on this base. Make sure you fill up your bases as well as you can. You don't want to base skip and end up losing due to a smaller unit count, which has happened to me plenty of times. Infantry captures, and I move my infantry straight towards the right because I could go for either this one or this one. I guess depending on how I was feeling, depending on what I was planning to do. And I built a tank up here because I felt that with this base being here, this is my stronger side. That's what I felt like. These 3 cities over here, all connected by roads, are also contestable, just like these 8 over here. But yeah, I wanted to try to establish more power on this upper side, and my opponent can have the bottom side. Finally captures that port. Almost like what I did, leaving another infantry to capture that back. The mech is moving forward, ever so slowly. Recon moves out. No tank. Infantry. And he moved his infantry off the base. That's why it looked like it teleported. Whew. Moving on to day 6. I capture all my back properties, and I feel more comfortable spread out now. I put my infantry here because, like I said, I do feel a bit more confident capturing closer towards the center as Sami. The infantry are just moving through the mountains, getting towards the center. I finally build a recon here. Normally I would try to build another tank, but I do not have the funds for it. And I know I'm going to need vision, so I felt a recon was the best thing I could buy alongside 2 infantry. So my opponent begins to capture all his properties, puts his mech on the mountain, gets, I would say, pretty good vision. If I was anywhere here on this little shoal thing, I would have been able to be seen. Finally goes for his comm tower. Recon is moving up towards his weak side. Builds transport, recon, infantry, and again isn't efficient with his income. Yeah, it's like he's slowly kind of getting behind right now because because I've managed to keep something on my bases, and although my opponent should have a free infantry, it's only looking a little close because he built an air unit. I don't think I built an air unit yet, but yeah, I'm capturing these properties, making sure they are secured. The tank is moving up, and it can see an infantry is already going here, which kind of surprised me a little bit because I just started this. He already has this. I was like, oh, okay. Maybe my opponent's a little more aggressive than I thought. Move my recon down, try to scout out the bottom, and I build the tank to cover this tank. You want to keep your tanks close together so they can cover each other. Could have built a mech, honestly, but I wanted. I guess I wanted the extra 2,000. I think I know what I do next turn. If I was playing this now, I know what I would want to build with 14,000 on my next turn. You see this right here? This is also very nice. He has 2 infantry here that can go for the city. You want to move your back units first, because this is how far that infantry could go, either to this forest or the city. This infantry can move up to this road and be a lot closer to either of these properties compared to this infantry being here. So capturing with the back infantry, really good move for my opponent. And yeah, he begins to capture, and ooh, a little aggressive with that recon there, buddy. I don't know if he got trapped, but yeah, he's staring down at my tank, and we all know what might happen here. Mech looks like might be going for the base, and he builds a battlecopter and completely loses all of his ignores all these bases here. A day 8 battlecopter, I mean, sure, I guess it's map dependent, but usually you want to build a battlecopter if you have the funds to build everything else. I do talk a lot about income advantage, but unit count advantage is also just as important. So yeah, I go ahead and try to get that strike on that recon, and I'm hoping this infantry can kill. It drops it down to 1 HP, and it's on a road too. Let's pull out the damage calculator just for a little bit, shall we? So say we have a tank on a forest going up against Adder on a road, and it's a recon. Why can I not find the recon? Here it is. And so recon, it's going to deal at best 9 damage. It would already be at 1 HP, which should be enough for any regular infantry to kill it. However, as Sami, you see the 10% kind of coming into play, and yeah, it was I believe it was at 2 HP. I believe it was at 2 HP. We had an infantry. If I high rolled it, I probably would have had a good chance to kill it, but I think the tank having less firepower is really detrimental. And I didn't go for my comm tower yet because I didn't think I'd be doing any combat this soon. Now this recon is at 1 HP, but in fog it's very valuable because it still has that vision. It can hide, and it can just, just be a scout. Doesn't have to do anything. There's a handful of forests here, so this is an info collector, and a very scary one. I was a little frightened when I saw that this recon survived, so it made me a bit more weary about my unit movements. Barely sees my tank though. I think that's how far my tank could have gone. Maybe one more, but I wanted to keep it hidden. He can see I'm going for this property here, but yeah, nothing he has can interrupt it. No point of sending this off to a suicide mission just to do like very minimal chip damage. And yeah, as I said, I believe I had 14,000 when I started. 14,000 was just enough to build a tank, artillery, and infantry. Indirects for Sami are untouched. Their firepower is not reduced. This tanks are a really good staple to any army, and 6,000, 7,000, I just have enough for one more infantry. I built this artillery because I do want to free this artillery, and then I can have an artillery going down here, and this artillery continuing to move up. And as you can see, the base skipping has really starting to cost my opponent, because I have 4 more units. I didn't base skip. He base skipped like 4 times. And yeah, you can almost see the unit value too is going down. I have 3 tanks. My opponent has 1 battlecopter. I have 3 tanks. I could go like anywhere on the map. This 1 battlecopter can only cover one side of that map. The map, unfortunately, oops. Looks like I double clicked on accident. Looks like the symmetry went to that transport copter. Recon's moving down. Can't see I do have that property on the bottom. Goes for that capture there. And he puts his mech on the city here, which I can see. It's a little unfortunate because infantry versus a mech, infantry is getting good value just for damaging it, because a weakened mech cannot do as much damage to a tank compared to a full health one. So you can see he's making his move towards these top properties. Battlecopter is also moving towards the top, and he finally builds his first tank, pulls his recon back. Infantry. Probably could go for another recon, but he didn't base skip at least this turn. So I just moved this here to scout, and now I see that this is left untouched, and he just started capturing that. So it kind of made me realize that maybe something is a bit out here or here. Finally start capturing my comm tower, and I start capturing that city. I move my recon up, and here I see his recon, so I was like, oh, maybe... I was like, oh crap, he's probably already seen me move my infantry, move into that force, so I might lose this infantry. But I do have the information that he doesn't have anything down here. Moving my units up, I pull my artillery back so I can fire on this pipe seam to free my free artillery. I do move my infantry up here to see if there's anything in the forest, which isn't, and therefore I get really good attacks against this mech. Probably would have died had I had the comm tower, but again, I did not expect to be fighting units this early. Right now it's like little skirmishes. Finally go for this contested property. I feel like these 6 are contested, as I've just said. These are also a bit contested as well, but I should have the advantage because I have the better infantry, and infantry are the only units that can travel the fastest through the mountains. Tank moves up, keeping close to each other, cover each other, and I build an anti-air on this side particularly because I feel like he's seen my tank up here, hasn't seen much else on the bottom. He wouldn't have seen that recon move in. So I anticipated that if he had a battlecopter, he'd want to send it up here. And that is why I built my anti-air on this side. And I built enough for a recon to bring up to this side, and infantry to fill out that base. Next turn, my opponent captures whatever he can. Captures this port, surprisingly. I would have maybe gone for the city. Because it's more contested. He cannot see a lot, although this recon can interrupt it. Sending this recon in there to interrupt infantry capturing that is suicide. Helicopter moving down, and he's trying to go for first strikes on my infantry, which is fair. I can see why he'd do that. But ooh, recon gets trapped down there. Gets nice information though. I don't have my comm tower yet. But if he knew about attack value, you'd probably see, well, transport copter moves his infantry here, sees that I only have, only just started capturing that top one. Tank moving down. Yeah, if I sent a recon to interrupt this cap, that tank would do a lot to my recon. Puts another battlecopter, and he builds a tank, but he's missing out on the on bases. Again, he's missing out on unit count. You don't want to do this. keep your keep your bases loaded. You'll understand why. You'll get more dynamic turns. Here I'm beginning to capture these properties because I feel like I've focused too much on fighting. I really need to start playing for properties. Kill that mech there. You're not getting that city. Tank is gets the first strike on that infantry. Infantry versus infantry on a shoal. Zero terrain stars. Yeah, dealing a lot of damage. And I decided to finish off this infantry instead of capturing for some reason. Probably could have gotten away with a capture, but I at least feel a bit more secure with killing that infantry. Pull this infantry back because this is a dangerous spot. Infantry are moving up, and anti-air are moving up, closing in on this battlecopter. My opponent probably did 100% saw this tank, so I hope it at least forces him to move back. Tank, infantry, and I'm not going to engage in this. Recon versus recon, not the best thing you can do. He probably saw this tank if he paid attention and would probably want to back it away. And so, as you can see, he's doing a lot better on this top side because he is capturing these two properties here, thanks to his transport copter. I'm a little late on this bottom side here, unfortunately, and for now, like he's got a income advantage currently. I should be able to swing it back, but yeah, just being this low, not the greatest thing. It reminds me how much I focused on the center and not this city or these two. Puts his recon on a puts his recon on the city, which is fair. Slightly moves his battlecopter up. It does cover this transport copter, all this infantry, this recon. Not that infantry though. And he doesn't base skip this turn. Artillery, infantry, tank. Could go tank, infantry, but probably wants the artillery to free that other artillery as well. So I finally captured that, and I have the income advantage again if I capture this. However, moving up, and I see that he's already captured this, and he's captured this. I was thinking, ooh, he's already about to get two. I only have one, and down here, he probably has this one, and I haven't started anything here, so I'm getting a bit nervous on this top side here. And this was intended to be my strong side too, so yeah, I guess I brought these tanks a little closer towards the center. Is that really interesting? Tank does not kill that infantry, unfortunately, but it does leave room. But it does position these two units to at least attempt a three-way cover. And I make a four-way cover here as well. So it's pretty easy for me to gain that property, which is closer to his side too. My tank moves up, and I get a really nice strike, really nice first strike on this recon. Drops it to 4 HP, and this is a time that I am willing to do a recon versus recon, because I have an infantry that can kill this, and it also gives me information here. He doesn't have any of these, just the support, so I feel a bit more comfortable. I have 4 infantry down here. I am sure likely to get some of these properties. And notice how I'm attacking with this infantry in the back. The closest infantry can attack, but it's also the only one that can reach the city for me to start capturing. Again, it's an example of moving your units in the back, so your units in the front can reach out further. Kind of put this infantry here to protect the city. Tank backup is coming up. Although this is my weak side, this tank is by itself. Again, not the greatest thing I could do, but I am covering it slightly. This recon is kind of showing me there's not a lot of threats here, but eventually this tank will meet up with that tank to cover each other. Tank moving forward. Infantry moving forward, and here I tech up. This is one of my favorite things to do as Sami. As I mentioned, a medium tank is better than a regular tank. And infantry are already good, so you can spare saving some money buying infantry, and then the money you save up, you can build a tank. A medium tank, I mean. So yeah, now he's got the 2 cities on the top. And he sends his battlecopter up here. A bit risky, but a good risk on his end, because I don't see his, well, I'm sorry, I can't reach that battlecopter. And this lake here is like really forcing me to like having to go around. Transport copter, hopefully bringing back some units. Infantry covering the, infantry is covering the HQ because this recon is getting a lot of great information. And he goes for my tank. Here he gets the first strike, but he should have seen this tank being put in this forest here, because yeah, this is why you want to keep 2 tanks together. If one gets attacked, you can send in the other one to get a much stronger first strike. Moves this down, sees that I'm capturing it, can't do anything about it. This infantry is most likely dead. Artillery is moving up, not blowing up that pipe seam, I see. And the recon tries to get more information. Should have done this first, actually. So if he saw an anti-air maybe here, probably wouldn't send that battlecopter to the left. But yeah, recon, it moved last and it moved to its death. Unfortunate recon. Recon, infantry, tank. So what is that, like 7,014, 15, 19. Could have gone for a medium tank tech up actually, which is pretty interesting. And day 12, no anti-airs from him yet. Which is fair because Sami battlecopters aren't as strong. They're not as weak as other CLs, but you would probably like to see better. And again, another example of attacking with the back units first. But I'm attacking here to get a better defense from the plane compared to the road. Attack. Infantry finishes it off, and I hide my tank in this forest, which this infantry should not be able to see moving. Tank backup is finally coming, and it does cover all my units down here. Infantry gets the first strike on that infantry there and finish it off. The city is safe. Tank is moving back for repairs, and that's when this other one comes in and gets 2 HP on it. Recon is dying. I don't attack with this one because I want this one here to capture that city. And it is a bit exposed, but he will have to commit more units than usual to interrupt that cap. Try to get the first strike up here, and my recon is protecting the city. Do get nice information on it, and I move my anti-air back here to cover these units. However, you will see why that was not a good move. Tank stays hidden. Infantry are just hiding in forests. Moving my units forward. Oh yeah, I freed this artillery finally, which is which gives nice cover for these units when it eventually reaches there. And now I finally build my battlecopter, as well as an anti-air, because I've seen this battlecopter flying around, so I was like, okay, don't get too distracted. There's probably another one. I did mention earlier I do like 2 anti-airs to cover 2 different fronts of my army in fog. Yeah, and I just had enough for battlecopter, infantry, and anti-air. So my opponent finally uses side slip. You can see how crazy far this goes. I like side slip. Say if you were like me and not covering your tanks enough, even just by 1 tile, that +1 movement can actually help out. And he has this on day 12, and I don't even have my regular power yet. So yeah, infantry is moving very far, and this infantry gets really good information. He sees a tank and he sees his anti-air. Now he knows this battlecopter is gonna have to reposition. Gets first strikes on my infantry here, and this battlecopter stops his doesn't stop it actually, just gets a free attack off my infantry, and this battlecopter and this anti-air cannot attack that battlecopter, which is unfortunate. Tank one-shots this 9 HP recon, which isn't too surprising because currently he has a 20% attack boost with the power and with the comm tower. So adder with a comm tower using a super is actually really nice. Infantry gets shot by that battlecopter. Looks like he's trying to move units in, and he stops that capture entirely, which was my mistake. Pulls that infantry back on the top. Looks like he's just ferrying units. Builds an anti-air as soon as I buy this battlecopter. Good call from my opponent. Day 13. I feel like I kind of got a little slapped around a bit on this turn, but I had to stay composed. Capture this bottom property. I'm 2 property ahead of him. 2 income ahead of him, but I'm also 7 units ahead of him as well. If we look at the stats, I don't know if this is this doesn't look right. Let's see. 21 to 13, yeah. I don't think the replay would show me that. Alright, so I pull my tank back, and I'm pulling the rest of my units back because I have nothing to stop this battlecopter for the time being. Making a small little retreat, but I at least have these 2 properties, so I am happy with that. Battlecopter cannot see that infantry though. Tank moves up, gets that first strike on that tank, and the second one just comes in. Yeah, that's why you want to keep all your units, keep your units close together as soon as you can. 5 HP infantry can take out this 4 HP infantry, even with a slight defense boost, and I make a really stupid HQ cap. But it will kind of pressure my opponent to be like, hey, I'm at your front door. What are you gonna do? Yeah, finally get rid of this infantry, because you want to negate as much vision from your opponent as you can when moving your units. This tank moves up, can finish off that infantry. Medium tank moving in to try to reinforce the center. Got a couple beaten up infantry, but up here I only see, couple beaten up tanks, but I only see infantry up here, so I don't see why the medium tank would want to go up there. Move my artillery up, recon, doing as much damage as I can to these infantry. And because I killed this infantry, it wouldn't be able to see this anti-air moving over here, which is a much better spot. Should have done it earlier because it's covering almost everything that is up here from this battlecopter, which I do see. So yeah, I'm anticipating a strike down. Infantry just move forward. I have enough for tank, and recon. Do I have 3 recons? No, I have 2 recons. I guess I never built a recon on the bottom. I forgot. It's a little late for me. Day 13. Yeah, that's a free infantry from my opponent. And here he uses his artillery to attack the infantry. So now I know he's got an artillery either here, or maybe here. But yeah, that infantry died, but I have information now. Infantry on the city, so it stays defended. He's going for this capture as well. And yeah, I did notice I did leave like a blank space over here, but I do have these 2 infantry to not allow that to happen. Infantry goes for that recon. and he's trying to capture my properties. So yeah, my opponent right now is he's on the offensive. He's really forcing me to make moves. He's really forcing me to respond to everything. Unfortunately, his battlecopter does not kill that tank for him. Fortunate for me, at least. And he goes triple tank. And puts the transport copter on the port for some reason. Day 14. I still have my double time. But at this point, I don't see why I would use my double time. Yeah, I don't see a lot of reason to use my double time here. But yeah, I move this recon here, trying to get some vision, don't get a lot. My tank does see this recon, however, and I erase his vision. And I go for this capture on that city, and my anti-air, surprise, surprise, is gonna get that battlecopter out. Battlecopter was pretty threatening. He knew how to move it around between this little lake here. So kudos to my opponent for making me chasing him around a little bit. Alright, infantry interrupts that cap. If this was Sami, I would never do this. But if my opponent was Sami, I'd never do this. But he's not Sami, fortunately, which allows me to do that. Medium tank stays hidden. Does a nice little cover. And I interrupt this cap down here. And I could have done the order completely different, but I was afraid my opponent had something in the forests. I used to gamble a lot and be like, I used to gamble a lot and try to do an attack, but something is in the forest. Yeah, it messed me up. Artillery can cover this city. I guess I just wanted to move it up a bit. Aggressive infantry capture. But it is at full HP, and it is making my opponent trying to do something. Forcing my opponent to do something about it. The tanks are being spread out, and I build a bomber. Oh man, bombers are so fun to use. Sometimes your opponent won't see them coming, and I built this bomber with just enough to build 3 infantry. So I was like 25,500 income I had. Unit stays in the forest. Infantry moves in the forest. It's gonna force my opponent to move. Have 1 reveal and 1 kill. Yeah, I'm just making a retreat, but I'm also annoying my opponent with this 1 infantry. Day 14. He has his power again. And I'm like sort of halfway to my super. Transport copter moves down, tries to get information, gets that anti-air strike. Anti-air is weakened, cannot do much to battlecopters. It's gonna force me to repair. This anti-air here, because of side slip, he is able to bring it all the way down there. And because he has a 20% attack boost, it does nearly one-shot my infantry, so I'm not getting this city. Yeah, like that's the kind of, and he brings it back here. That's the kind of value that side slip can do. It's just like just 1 space away, and you get those really nice first strikes. This infantry does survive, though. It is giving me intel. Good on them. He's trying to join cap this property, but I have it fairly covered very well. Tank loops around the top, tanks coming down the bottom, coming towards the center, and is moving in pretty hard, and it's outside of my artillery range too, which was unfortunate. Looks like he's got a battlecopter, tank, infantry. Didn't base skip this turn. Really nice to see. I probably saw this artillery moving down here. Alright, so recon moving, attacking from the north to see that I don't see much else down there. Infantry stops that cap entirely, not the artillery. I do not get this kill on this infantry because of the defense boost, but just 2 HP Sami infantry is enough to stop entirely. Send in my own battlecopter get a really nice strike on it, and I tried to protect it, but yeah, it's a diagonal infantry wall. It's a lot worse than a vertical, or horizontal infantry wall. But I do surround my artillery. Surround my artillery. So if anything were to attack this battlecopter, my artillery can shoot it down. They are 2,000 less than an anti-air. The bomber just slides through the pipe scenes in the middle. So yeah, air units and bombers. Air units and foot soldiers can go through those mountains. Pull this back to repair. Medium tank comes in. Boom. Minus 10% firepower, does not matter. Getting a huge first strike on that. And I also decide, hey, I'm going to take some pot shots at this tank up here as well. And on attempting on better terrain. Tank's moving up, and I decide to join this one just to keep it a higher HP. Infantry are moving up. Got a little wall here. A little bit of everything. And I have enough for tank, recon, and infantry. 3 recons might feel like a bit much, but I guess you can kind of see, excuse me, this recon sees the top, this recon sees the bottom, this recon will eventually help try to see the middle. He pulls his tank back here, and pulls that other thing back, barely kills. Took 3 tanks to try to kill that one tank. So I'm kind of glad I joined capped. It did force him to invest a lot into that, but ooh, would you look at that? My meter is completely filled. This might be a devastating turn. Moves in, reveals everything. 2 infantry, artillery, infantry battlecopter. Finally gets that property. Tank moves in and stops that battlecopter. And this anti-air is attacking this battlecopter and it's inside the range of my artillery, so yeah, I'm not attacking that. No siree. And then he has a tank come down here and attack the weaker terrain tank. And he's kind of moving his units in. But one thing that I feel like my opponent could have done better is to maybe protect his properties. And here he does with this artillery. And here he does with this transport copter. And he finally techs up the medium tank and has enough. But ooh, that big blue button, you just love to see it. Foot soldiers gain +2 movement. Attack increased to 70% and can capture buildings instantly. But herein lies the slight little problem here. I cannot see what's on this HQ. This tank cannot see what's on this HQ. So I feel like I have to play this carefully. If he has something very, very strong on this HQ, then I cannot win by HQ cap. However, these 2 infantry can capture this property. These couple infantries can go for these 3 properties if I play it correctly. So I could maybe get like a 5 income swing. Hell, I could even kill this tank and get this comm tower. So there was a lot of things that I can do with this victory march. But let's see how I play this. I use my superpower. It also buffs up my everything, my tanks as well, even to like 10 HP. So now they're 110 units. Just 10% attack boost for all of them. Let's see here. So I plan to like maybe capture this comm tower. Maybe capture this HQ, but this infantry is in the way. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, no. I probably could have played this a lot better. But yeah, infantry, I want that out of the way. Then I use my tank to finish it off, and it gives me the information to see that a transport copter is guarding the see our transport copter is guarding the HQ. I was like, oh no, wait a second. Shout out to our Tory Gold, because he talked about how APCs are more bulkier than transport copters. This is what my boy means. So, with 70% boosted infantry, like they're not getting air units are not getting defense from ground terrain. This infantry comes in and does 6 damage to this transport copter, and with this 110 attack medium tank, loops around on the top, and I kill this transport copter, giving me exactly what I was looking for. Adder loses via HQ capture, and there goes my victory for this map. I would say it's a fairly. It was a fun one. I think it could have been a lot closer had my opponent not base skipped. My opponent clearly knew how to do a couple of the right things, but the base skipping part was just as detrimental. I'm 10 ahead of him. I did manage to get a 4 income lead, so I was probably going to win in the long run. But yeah, that transport copter, I can see why you do it. I mean, I used up my anti-air, but transport copters are a lot fragile than APCs, and with just a heavy boosted infantry, it was enough to whittle it down and clear off this HQ for me to win via Victory March. And a Victory March win is very, very satisfying. Alright guys, thank you guys so much for watching my second Sami replay. I will have one more Sami replay up for you guys, and I hope you can understand that it's 3 games, the same CO, but I hope to make this entertaining, and I hope to improve my Sami gameplay. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Advanced Warrior, and you all have my warmest regards. Please take care.